The next presenter will be Dr. Lutfi Abdallah, who is an internal medicine physician specialist at Muhimbili National Hospital and MSc candidate in gastroenterology and hepatology at MUHAS. He has worked at MUHAS and KUHAS, but also had a 3-month stint at Yashoda Hospital in Hyderabad, where he gains hands-on on the state-of-art GI endoscopic procedures. And today, we'll ask him to carry us through integrating technology in GI healthcare. So he's going to talk about diagnostic advancements, telemedicine, and digital health solutions for better patients' outcome. Karibu sana, Dr. Lutfi. I think this now is working. It's working.
Good morning, everyone. So thank you for having me, and I'll take you through the AI in healthcare. So what are the current challenges in GI healthcare? So the main issue that we have is the delay of diagnosis, which end up into advancement of the disease, the procedure insufficiencies, and the patient access disparities. So the overview of technological pillars involve the AI diagnostics, the telemedicine, digital health solution, and advancing imaging. So in our case, I'll take you through the EA diagnostics and telemedicine. So what is AI in GI diagnostics? So the main issue that we take into consideration is the neural network component. So AI by itself has been innovated since 1980s, and it has been there, but then the machine learning followed it, and then later on the true brain inside the artificial intelligence happened in 1990s. So what really happens is in every field of medicine, especially with the component of the GI, the data are put in, the AI and the machine learning learn the data. Could be from the image from the endoscopy, could be radiologic images, could be the histopathologic images. And then the machine by itself start to learn the data, does the data analysis into multiple layers inside, and then it can tell you if what you have is what kind of pathology it has, or if the degree of lesions, the grading, and so forth. And these ones are done using a large data. We're talking about thousands of data to feed it so that the machine learn out of it. So in this image, what you can see here is the main component that has revolutionized the AI in the component of medicine is the deep learning component. And with the deep learning component, the day-to-day access that we have is things like the fingerprint scanner, the face ID that we use it on the phone. So the similar thing is adopted in gastroenterology. So with artificial intelligence in gastroenterology, it helps us in many things. Things like obscured visualization of structures. Sometimes you can get in during an endoscopy and you haven't visualized one part of the GI. Getting to know the identification of the tumors and the depth of the tumors, colon preparations, the quality component of the extubation time during colonoscopy, and the data analysis out of it. So there are multiple roles of AI in quality control in gastroenterology, but then the field that of highest importance is including the GI anatomy, where we can are usually divided into either for the upper 8 to 26 parts, reducing the blind spot rate in endoscopy, especially the component of the duodenum with retroflexion at the fundus, the guided biopsy so that we get the high quality biopsy, identification and characterization of the colorectal lesions, and automated assessment of the bowel preparation using the Boston scoring. So taking you into the real-world data that we have, so we have things like Barrett esophagus, where there is mucosal change, where we see through the endoscopy the pale peel is replaced by the pink mucosa from the gastric area. Anything above 1 centimeter from the GE junction is significant. But then when you take a random biopsy, it's very easy to miss the lesions. So we literally rely on the Seattle protocol, where we take the biopsy every 2 centimeters on the four quadrant. But then still with the Seattle protocol, we have 40% chance of missing the lesions. And in that point, we can, it's very easy to miss these plastic lesions. So here comes the AI, where we feed a lot of data inside it, and through the image in white light endoscopy, we can identify the lesion. And in this study, I found it to be more accurate and superior compared to the human eye. So these are the forest plots in a number of studies, and still it has been seen that it is superior in sensitivity by 0.9 point. And that was statistically significant. Looking at the sensitivity, it has also favored the AI assistance in diagnosing the Barrett esophagus. So the diagnostic odds ratio also showed that this one has favored the use of artificial intelligence in identification of the Barrett's esophagus. But still, with all these data, this one cannot replace a clinician, but rather it guides the clinician, where whenever the lesion is there, then the patient, the clinician have to go and take a look on it and see if that is right or not. And then we have another challenge with the burden of squamous cell carcinoma example in our settings. So unlike the adenocarcinoma and malignancy of the colorectal cancer, squamous cell carcinoma are not easily detected, are not easily seen by eyes, especially when they're early. So the experts can see it very well, unlike the juniors, and this has been seen in almost nearly all studies. So the image at the top, the blue boxes that you see is the one that the AI have seen the mucosal changes in patients which have been confirmed through histopathology that they have a squamous cell carcinoma. And the black boxes at the bottom are the ones that have been detected by the endoscopist. So through the deep neural network learning, it has enhanced the accuracy, specificity, sensitivity, positive predictive value, and negative predictive value. But then in this data, still it has been seen, despite higher sensitivity with the AI, but it is still comparable to the seniors, unlike with the middle level and juniors, junior endoscopists. So when these data were exposed to the endoscopists, and then the test was taken again, it has been shown a significant improvement in detecting the squamous cell, the early squamous cell carcinoma. And this has been seen in all the aspects of sensitivity, specificity, positive predictive value, negative predictive value, and accuracy. So the GI detection of malignancy through the deep learning vis-a-vis the endoscopy, this was done, this study was done in China, where the endoscopists were put in those three categories. Everyone was given a laptop with images, and then they were asked to say if the malignancy is there or not, and then the investigator will record the findings. So not only on the aspect of detecting, but rather to say if this, is it invasive or non-invasive? Was it mainly on the mucosa layer or submucosa layer? So what you see on the right side is the magnified band, narrow band imaging, while on the left side is the white light endoscopy. So the A images show the neoplastic lesions, and the B shows non-neoplastic lesion, and all of these were confirmed by histopathology. So after feeding the data more than 500,000 in machine learning and compared to the endoscopist, still this one has, the AI, the deep learning system has shown to be superior compared to the endoscopist, both on the expert, the seniors, and the juniors. So there's another issue of artificial intelligence in gastric precancerous lesion. We're talking mainly about the atrophic gastritis, where in endoscopy, those can be seen by looking at the paleness of the mucosa, visibility of the blood vessels, or you can see the atrophy of the gyrus, which is the atrophy of the gastric fold, which are the rugae. But then with an overlap of the H. pylori, all these becomes a precursor for the gastric malignancies. And eradication of H. pylori becomes essential in such patients. So with the meta-analysis that has been seen with the forest and the funnel plot, all these have been shown superiority of using an AI in detecting the precancerous lesion and atrophic and multifocal atrophic gastritis. So looking at the automated diagnostic system for artificial intelligence using endocystoscopy, where the images are magnified, and then you identify the presence of histologic inflammation associated with ulcerative colitis patients. So the image at the top showed the normal mucosa, while the one that you see in the D with the light microscopy, you see there is absence of the visible blood vessel, while at the top you see the visible blood vessel, and we rely on the Mayo classification to assess this colonic mucosa. And the B ones is the endocystoscopy, the C, the histopathology, where we see on the C1 is the normal one, while the D there is a crypt abscess. So all these data also still fed in thousand and hundred of thousand, and then compared to the superiority on the endoscopic part. So the computer-assisted diagnosis still also seem to be superior and more accurate compared to the human. But this one, if we look at the Mayo staging 0, which is the normal mucosa, and Mayo 1, where we see there's fainting of the blood vessel to be friable, the sensitivity was quite low in AI. So this is the image showing how the deep learning is done. The top image on the left side shows the normal colonic mucosa. The middle one is Mayo 2, and the bottom one is Mayo 3. So all this one goes through a number of layers of identifying the images after feeding it in multiple times, and then at the end we get the output data. So if we feed the images or under live microscopy, then it can identify if what we have is an inflamed mucosa or the healed mucosa, and it's of what grade. So the computer-aided diagnosis system for ulcerative colitis, it has been shown to be superior to the normal endoscopists among those who have always keeping the images for comparison. And then we have another thing is the capsular endoscopy. So the capsular endoscopy is mainly the pill-like camera where the person can take it in because of the limitation of the upper endoscopy and the lower endoscopy. So with the upper endoscopy, you can go all the way to the duodenum segment, but then from the jejunum, it will be very difficult to reach there. All the small, the other part of the small intestine, all the way to the terminal ileum, all those will be difficult. So when we do a colonoscopy, it's the same. We can do the ileocecal intubation, but then we cannot go much further inside it. So that point is usually we're usually blinded to identify what's there. And it's very important to get to know in these, especially with those with obscured GI bleeding, those who are presented with GI bleeding, when you have a negative upper endoscopy and lower endoscopy, patient with Crohn's disease and telangiectasias. So there are a number of studies, this meta-analysis assessed a number of studies detecting the application of capsular endoscope in GI bleeding, and ulcers, erosion, angiectasias, and others. But then the capsular endoscopy seem to be sensitive and accurate. However, in all studies that have been done in human interpretation for capsular endoscopy, the specificity is high with human diagnosis, but then training someone to go and to be able to interpret capsular endoscopy takes around 6 months. So the utility of AI in such cases is of advantage. So with deep learning and wireless capsular endoscopy, it has been shown to have higher sensitivity and specificity, which is also a bonus on our side. And then we have another thing is with the colonoscopy, we have adenoma detection rate and a polyp detection rate. And these are standardized. According to the quality control, whenever we do an endoscopy, then at least we should achieve the adenoma detection rate of 30%. That means for every 100 patients, at least we should detect 1 polyp. For every 100 patients, we detect polyp in 30 patients. So adenoma detection rate is quite important because this one will allow you to intervene early and prevent malignancies. And with the meta-analysis on the adenoma detection rate, it has been seen that the AI, it favors the AI in adenoma detection rate. At the same time, with the meta-analysis in polyp detection rate, AI have been favored as well. Another component is the telemedicine. So telemedicine is something that came up and it was quite popular during COVID time where we had lockdown. And with telemedicine, the one that has been known is consulting a doctor through video conferencing. But then with adoption of AI in telemedicine, this one have reduced significantly the doctor's consultations on site and decrease in hospitalization and saving the cost. This one helps the patient because it analyzes, patient feeds every concerns and symptoms that they have, and the vitals through the blood pressure monitoring that they have, the height, the weight, what they took in. Some of the inquiries are answered by AI and the patient reflects it to the day-to-day life, and all these have been seen to be advantageous. So in telemedicine applications, there's an educative sessions that are there, both on the live and the recorded ones, which makes the patient to be aware of the diseases that they have, to be well informed. At the same time, the telemedicine reduces the time frame for the doctor to patient consultation time. This is mainly because they have a specific rehearsal component before reaching before accessing the doctor. So unnecessary consultation are usually terminated early. And then we have the digital biomarkers, things like fecal calprotectin, which is done at home, and assessment of the FODMAP, which is the fermentable oligodisaccharides meals. So for the patient with irritable bowel syndrome, whenever they take meal and they get an upset, through the AI they can feed the data, and the AI can usually tell them what have triggered their symptoms. So this one marks the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lutfi, for, I think what I took home was that AI is there to help clinicians to do their work, is not to replace them. Because sometimes we are worried that AI might take our jobs. But healthcare is a labor intensive, you need a human behind, as he said. But it can help us to improve what we do. Now, any questions? We got some questions from the chat box, but it's not for you, it was for the previous. We'll look at it. Karibuni maswali. Questions, comments, addition? Yes, please.
Thanks very much, Lutfi, for the very nice elaborative presentation. I sometimes work as a biostatistician, so whenever I see data, I'm quite fascinated. Though to the people like Mzee Puge, when the machine learning and AI came, and also disease modeling, it looks like a fictitious of science to them. But really, Lutfi has demonstrated that still AI, machine learning and other upcoming tools are quite relevant in helping and supporting the healthcare industry. So I'm always in a situation that understand, usually in this part of the world, it is usually we fall behind wherever these kind of technologies come, even if some of them have been availed and available for free, but maybe we didn't have the capacity enough of the people with great minds to uptake them and upgrade and customize them for use at our setup. A good example was the COVID-19 era, where Dr. Ferguson and others put up a model which predicted that in Africa and other developing part of the world, it would have been catastrophic. But rather it was contrary, and yet we survived the scourge. We didn't survive, or we didn't avail or prove wrong Dr. Ferguson and others because of the lack of the baseline information or data in the models which Ferguson and others used. By the time they were putting up the models, there was not enough baseline data to do the predictions. And that's why they went wrong. That was an easy mistake they did. So leveraging to the history of the COVID-19 and other platforms, what is the position for the scientists in the East African region in how we can adapt to the emerging technologies, especially AI and machine learning, on solving and helping combating or preventing some of these particular diseases? And for today, gastro is a good example. So mine is the question to you, but rather a wake-up call to scientists and young generations around the region. What is our position on leveraging the upcoming technologies, AI, machine learning, and others, so that we can incorporate it into most part of the sectors, including healthcare sector, and that would help in detection, being diagnostics, but also prediction in managing diseases, especially in the gastro area. So mine was just a wake-up call to the people in-house. Thanks.
Okay.
Moderator.
Thank you very much. So that's a wake-up call and the question for all of us. Karibu, President.
Asante, because it's gastro and many things are really of interest to me. Yes, chairperson showed some kind of fear a little bit in terms of can technology replace us as doctors? Yeah, but I think if you look at it carefully, at one moment it is going to do so. For example, at the moment, there is what we call robotic surgeries. In that case, maybe it is done very fast, very accurately, and maybe we might need less numbers of doctors to operate in the hospitals. So this is actually giving us a challenge and a threat that maybe in the future, the number of doctors needed will be less than what we need now. But on the other hand, currently we are training more doctors than in the past in the presence of technology. So we have to take care of this and give a deep thought about it in terms of what would be the position of doctors in the future as technology is advancing. But now to the presenter, yes, we have presented a number of issues: AI, computer-aided diagnosis system, telemedicine. All these things are now happening in the developed world. But what do you think? What can we incorporate earlier in our national programs? At the moment, I think we should not avoid, we should not shy away from using this technology. But still, I think we are not doing that. Looking at Muhimbili National Hospital, yes, we are using paperless files and things like that. But I think we are not giving enough weight to these technological advancements. So what do you think we can advise our Ministry of Health officials to incorporate in our systems at the moment? AI, I know it is maybe a little bit far, but can we really do something at the moment so that we can keep pace with what is going?
Asante. Yes. Karibu.
Asante. I just want to add on that. We know that AI models, there are different models we have. And my question is whether do we have enough data where we can integrate those data to integrate AI into clinical diagnosis. I'm saying that because we know, I saw this study, there are 2 or 3 studies which you've done there. So do we have only those studies, or do we have more data which you can give us confidence that whatever we are using, we are sure? We want to avoid the overfitting models. You know, sometimes we have these models and say, okay, this is the perfect one, and we are going to use them. So just want to get it. The secondly, we are in developing countries. We know that the cost of operating. Do we have the models which can be fit, can be cost effective, especially in our setting? We know that one of the things which AI can help us, we don't have enough specialists. So that means we might say that this is going to help us in the area where we don't have enough experts. But the cost itself, is it cost effective to use it in our setting? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, karibu doctor.
Okay, thank you for nice questions. So starting with Dr. Komba. So with the AI model that usually chosen in every country, the determining factor is the burden. So for example, in our country, we have a burden on GI malignancies, mainly on the esophageal, the squamous cell malignancies. At the same time, we have the colorectal malignancies. So if there was a note that was said by Dr. Ahmed on screening that we don't do it. But then when we screen, how much of the early malignancies do we miss? We don't have the benchmark quality indicator on the adenoma detection rate for every clinician. So if I'll be asked what is your adenoma detection rate, I don't have it. And I was supposed to communicate with the patient on my adenoma detection rate if he's doing screening colonoscopy. So we don't have those quality markers. So I think on the component of the government to adopt is strengthening on, I could say 3 things. One, the investment on equipment, having the high definition images, at the same time storing the data and improving on the quality. Those ones will remain to be the baseline prior to adoption of the AI. So coming to Dr. Mohammed's question on the cost effectiveness, I won't really look at the cost in terms of the monetary system, but rather what is the cost if I miss early malignancy? And how will you suffer from it?
what would be the cost if someone is having an IBD and I miss it, just because only small section, segment of the colon is having a lesion that I missed. So the diagnostic cost will increase, and the patient, the disease by itself will advance, which the patient will succumb from. So adopting such an AI, almost every model that we see, majority are FDA approved. And you cannot do any learning model without FDA approval. There are several approvals that are usually taken. And the adoption in every manufacturing companies rely on how much accuracy it has, both on the sensitivity, specificity, negative predictive value, and positive predictive value. So those machines are quite expensive, but the government should select centers where they can do screening, and those are the centers that the AI should be adopted, I think, for the start.